Halloween is the worship of the god Samhain. He is the god, the reaper of death. Samhain is said to be the god of the dead, and on Halloween Eve, he called up all the evil, wicked spirits to come out of the ground and to walk the earth. Now, in Great Britain, and over on that side of the world, many years ago, were the Celts, I guess you call them, the Celts, C-E-L-T-S. And they were a group of people who had priests called the Druids. The Druids were blood-drinking, horribly evil priests. They used to take full wicker baskets and put human beings in them and put covers on them and light the baskets where you could hear the human beings screaming for mercy all around the villages. This was an offering to the god Samhain on the eve, which is Halloween. That holiday was so important to the Celts that their priests would go from house to house demanding treats and offerings so that those people within that house would not be harmed. This is what would happen, ladies and gentlemen. The Druids, who worshipped the devil, who had nothing to do with God, who had dragged the Celts into that abominable life, on that eve would teach them that these spirits, these goblins, would walk the earth. And in order to appease them, it was important to offer something to those wicked spirits. It started out where the people would leave just treats, little, maybe food. Because these wicked spirits, they believed, could spoil the milk that came from the cow, could cause death in the home, could cause all kinds of diseases to their animals and their farms and their families. So they'd start by leaving little treats out to appease them. Well, as wickedness grew and the people gave in to this diabolical thing, those treats weren't enough. They began to demand animal sacrifices. And so the people now, and the Druids now, would begin to offer animal sacrifice, shedding blood on the 31st. They would sometimes cut off the head of a goat and put it up on a stick because that was a representation to their god, Samhain. These were offerings of treats to him, to appease him, that he would not, and his wicked spirits would not do damage or cause havoc in the villages. As men gave in more to this, that was not enough. Now they wanted humans, human sacrifices. And this is what would happen, ladies and gentlemen. On the night of Samhain, when the wicked spirits would be summoned to walk the earth, they believed they were departed spirits of loved ones. They were not departed spirits. They were demons. When they would come up out of the ground, they would walk around. Well, now the Druids, to go along with these wicked spirits, would dress up. They'd paint their faces in ghoulish looks and walk around in ghoulish clothing and pointed caps. They'd walk around in the night to appease the wicked spirits. On this particular evening, they would go to people's homes, knock on their door, and demand that that night before midnight, a virgin in that family be offered as a sacrifice to Samhain. They would leave, and they'd leave a little jack-o'-lantern. Don't miss all this. A jack-o'-lantern with a ghoulish carving in the face and a little piece of maybe human fat in the bottom, or a coal in the bottom of that jack-o'-lantern, lighting up the ghoulish face and telling the people, this is here as a sign that we will be back at midnight. If you don't produce the virgin, if you don't appease us, your whole family will die. And they would go off with that little cute little jack-o'-lantern we all carve at Halloween, sitting there. When they returned at midnight, if the virgin daughter was not given for sacrifice, that her blood be spilled, a hexagram would be drawn on the door in blood. A hexagram, not a pentagram, a hexagram, which means there's a hex against the family. There's a difference. Not that it means much to us Christians who have the blood of Jesus, but for information's sake, they put a hexagram on the door in blood, and that would mean that by morning, everyone in the house would perish, that they had put a hex against that family. This is what we partake in when we celebrate the 31st. I want you to think about what I just said. The dress up is what the Druids used to do. When you dress up the children, that's what the Druids do. They dress up and walk around in ghoulish outfits. They go from house to house requesting trick or treat. That is a mantra. That is a repetitious comment that is made. Give us, and what the kids are doing today when they go out dressed up is they're imitating the Druids. They're taking part of Samhain's holiday. You can't fix it, folks. You can't scrub it down. This is what they're doing. Little Christian children are walking around, dressed up, chanting trick or treat, partaking in the holiday of the eve of the God of the dead. There's no getting around it. The jack-o'-lanterns that are carved are said to be the ones that they, you know, in lieu of the jack-o'-lanterns that were carved, put on people's front porches. Now we carve them and put them up there, you know, just set them out there, never realizing what we're partaking in. The pointed hat that some of the children wear, the witch hats, and sometimes we'd put them up in our windows, the cute little witch. Well, the pointed hat means the cone of power. That means anyone wearing that pointed hat operates in divination and sorcery. The witch on the broom that many times we'd hang up in our windows, or sometimes women would buy the little kitchen witches for good luck and hang them up in their kitchens. The witch broom means that she astral projects, she spirit travels from one location to another. That goes all the way back to the Columbian Age. The little Casper ghouls that we put up with the little smiles that look real cute with their little, at the bottom they don't have legs, but it almost looks like an upside down sheet. That represents the spirits coming up out of the ground, but they look real cute, don't they? They make them with real cute little faces. They look like Casper the Ghost. We stick that up on the windows, and in that in our schools, and in that in our different places. That represents the spirits coming up out of the ground. The black cat is believed by witches, and when I hung around with a girl named Linda who was practicing with me for a while, and she kind of got off, and I got into it very heavily when I moved into Lancaster. But we believed that it was very easy to transfer our spirits into the cats, or that spirits could get into animals. The bat that we hang so cute, you know, that little bat hanging and his wings go, is usually referring to the vampire bat. Whenever you're involved in darkness, you like creatures of darkness, black cats, bats, vampire bats that drink blood. I've been doing these seminars, and I've got more kids that fill this place that are into vampirism and are drinking blood. Did you know that? I got a letter from a girl I can read you that's been drinking blood since she's 17 years old. She says she can't stop. Somebody's daughter that everybody thought would never get into it started messing around, and now she's begging to get out. The pointed hat, the lantern, the trick or treat. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about Halloween. You can't redeem it. People, when it comes, you shouldn't even act like it's there. If the churches choose to make a sanctuary or a refuge so that you can come out of the activity out there and we come into the church, it should not be referred to as a Halloween party, and the children should not be dressing up as anything, not even shepherds, not even angels. Because the minute you start, you take on the festival. And I'm telling you something, witches think it's funny. Well, my little girl's an angel. Your little girl's dressed up on the eve of Samhain, man. That's what your little girl is. That's exactly what witches would think, or those practicing the art. When we try to play this, well, we're having a Christian party and our kids are getting dressed up. No. You're dressing your kids up and you're celebrating their holiday. It shouldn't even be recognized. It shouldn't even be paid attention to. It is an evil, evil holiday.